Give the people a second to gather in. All right. Yeah, we're live. We're good. Cool,
Or
cool. What up, people? We're back. Shane G, Eric G. WWE Money in the Bank just ended. So we're going to give you all our thoughts on the show. You know what I mean? First of all, Eric, the question that I had for us all week, and I've had this question for years because I don't understand. Why isn't Lil Scrappy Money in the Bank the theme song for this pay per view every year?
I don't know. This is one of those obvious ones that it feels like somebody in the music department over there should just be aware of what that song is and how much more it fits into the theme than pretty much any other song that they end up picking. And it's one of those things where you don't ever have to change the theme. It could just be that like every single year going forward.
I'm saying, like, they don't have to, you know what I mean? Like, you guys are paying all this money for Meg the Stallion and Travis and The Weeknd and all these hugely expensive acts. And we know how TKO gets down. So it's like y'all are always looking for your bottom line and always trying to make that dollar. We get it, corporate world. Like,
Right.
so why wouldn't you go for the popular song that's named the exact same thing as your event? That's probably much cheaper than paying Meg the Stallion or Travis or whoever, because Lil Scrappy's not hot right now. No, no disrespect. Shout out Lil Scrappy,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? But he's not hot right now, you know what I'm saying? So it's like they could probably get that record for not that expensive. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
and I'm sure Scrappy would do it because WWE is a hot product right now. So that would just build his stock back up to help him with a potential comeback or whatever. Like that would be a win win. I don't understand that.
Yeah, and they're and like you already said too, they already kind of got a thing with Mania going right now to where every year it's a weekend song now at this point. Like it's like weird when it doesn't happen. I think
Yeah.
this year was the only year where they almost didn't do it, and then they like changed and added them like last minute. So yeah, again should be an easy pick. I don't know why they're not doing that. But then
You
again,
would think.
TKO just signed Def Rebel too, so
Yeah, they
that's another
fucking re
story.
signed him. I don't understand that. Also, like, you've been hearing all this backlash for years about how trash we think the theme songs are. And then they sign them to make, like, I get it for the UFC themes. That's fine because
Right.
UFC fighters aren't known for their specific themes. You know what I'm saying? Whereas wrestlers are, like, they have a theme song that goes with them specifically. So it's like, it's weird, like, that. I mean, it's not weird that they would hire them for UFC to create theme songs, but it is weird
Right.
that they're just totally ignoring everything that the fans have been saying for years. Like I said, at this point, like pretty much since CFO dollar sign or CFOs or whatever the fuck, like ever since they left, the people that made all the good NXT Gold era themes, basically,
Yep.
like though when they left and Def Rebel, and again, I want people to understand this is why I get frustrated with it because it's a production company. Def Rebel is not one or two dudes. A lot of people think it's one or two dudes. It's
Right.
not. It's an entire production company that's ran by two dudes. So that means they have a team of musicians and producers and people who make beats and all this type of shit. And they're still coming out with basically the same theme over and over and over again for everybody.
Yeah, you can tell at this point, like it's gotten really, really repetitive with like a lot of the themes. Like a whole lot of them sound like just a rip-off version of another song that you already used, and
Yeah.
it's just really
So
obvious now.
yeah, it's super obvious. So shout out to Braun Breaker though, because the rumor has it that Limp Bizkit is making his new theme song and he's supposed to debut it next week. Very excited about that. One, because I grew up on Limp Bizkit. Two, they were one of those groups that really blended hip hop and metal, like new metal, very well. And they kind of popularized both genres to the opposite listeners, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like the people who are really into metal, they kind of got into hip hop because of Limp Bizkit. And then vice versa. The people who are really into hip hop, they might have gave metal a try because of Limp Bizkit. You know what I'm saying? They were kind of like the precursor to what Linkin Park was. Um, as far as like that super blend. They were the first rock band I knew with a DJ was Limp Bizkit. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Um, so I'm definitely excited about that. Um, but who else do you think would be some good producers, modern day, historic, whatever, just that could make some fire wrestling theme songs? And if you got anybody in particular you think they can make them for, you know, shoot those out as well. I'll let you go first though.
Yeah, obviously we saw it in the news the other day that Metro Boomin put out there that he wants to do a few WWE themes, and with how much more versatile he's became as a producer throughout the past couple of years, I think he would be a great shout to have somebody in there because you could have him make like a trappier beat like how Trick Williams' theme kind of sounds right now. Like he could probably do that production for somebody like a Street Profits or somebody like that to like really help elevate the record that they have because their theme isn't bad or anything. It's just not as dynamic as the last one, and I think somebody like Metro can come in and easily make a banger theme like that for them, like for sure. I even think that he could take some of like the girls themes right now that are a little more in that like EDM vibe, but like it's like not all the way EDM. It's like still like has like a slight bit of like hip hop element to it. I
Like
feel like he
EO's
could come
theme.
in. Yeah, like EL's theme. Like he could
Hmm.
come in and do a theme easily for somebody like that, like a Liv Morgan. I've been saying it for ever since she turned heel that she needed some new theme music. So like something like that, like I could see him coming in and doing a flip for somebody that really needs it, like her. You know what I mean? So also I do want to say, as far as new music that I heard tonight, shout out to Naomi's theme. I want to go back and hear that when it's a little quieter because it sounded like it could have been something, but the arena noise was just too loud, so it was hard to kind of hear. But yeah,
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Um, so for me, I thought about this. I thought of like three people that I really feel like would make good wrestling themes specifically.
yeah,
So I'll do it kind of in the order of when they were like at their most popping, I'll say.
yeah.
So the first dude I thought of was Timbaland. I think Timbaland, super diverse production. He can do the Nelly Furtado records, you know what I'm saying? Like Love You Just the Way You Are. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? That's like super poppy and like, upbeat club tempo type joints. But then he can do Oops by Tweet, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Which is like a totally different style of beat. That's like on some Middle Eastern, you know what I'm saying? Like that type of influence. And then he can do, Get Your Freak On, you know what I'm saying, by Missy Elliott, which sounds totally different than all those, everything else I just mentioned. And then he can turn around and give you Raise Up by Petey Pablo, which
Right.
is totally different than the rest of all those other sounds. So it's like Timbaland is so diverse, he can make any sort of sound. I'm sure he's dabbled in rock and shit like that before too, that I'm just not necessarily familiar with off the top of my head. But he's diverse enough to be able to create themes for different personalities. You know what I'm saying? Because he's good at matching up a sound with a particular artist. So based on that, I feel like he would be able to translate that into wrestling. So I could see him making some themes for, some of the more, I guess, out there characters, like energetic wise, like your what's my man? Young OG.
Oh, Javon Evans.
Javon Evans. I could see him making a theme for Javon. I could see him making a theme for even though I kind of like the street prop or not the street profits, New Day's new theme. I could see him doing something for them. Um like those type of like Meechin, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? I could see him doing something for her, something for B-Fab, you know what I mean? Like those type of characters. I feel like, Timbaland could do some nice stuff for. Um, moving it a little bit closer to the modern era, I would pick who so it was Timbaland. I'll move to the modern and then I'll go back because I don't remember who I had. Oh, Just Blaze.
Ah,
Just Blaze, again for diversity reasons, but he can do more of those themes that are more, I guess, like bombastic and like almost triumphant sounding. You know what I'm saying? Like almost like on some Shinsuke Nakamura or like how Robert Roode's theme was or like Finn Balor's original theme. Um, he does a lot of rock type stuff in his music, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of like rock guitars and stuff like that. So I could see him making, maybe something for Motor City Machine Guns, um, Damian
oh yeah, that's a good
Priest, you know
show.
what I'm saying? People like that. And then as far as the modern day, my pick is Mustard because I
Mm,
think he could make beats for, like a LA Night. He could make beats for, like Dom. I could see like Dom coming out with more of a boppy theme when he eventually turns babyface, especially on some West Coast shit. He's from Cali. So,
right.
he can lean into that. Um, yeah, so those are I think my picks. And then honorable mention for our, gothic wrestler spooky types, you know what I'm saying? You could always throw in like a Juicy J or a Lex Luger or a
Yup.
Southside. Any of those guys I think would be good for, your Wyatt Sixes, your well, there's not really too many spooky characters in WWE. I thought you're Malachi, you know what I mean? Even though he's more of a metal guy, but if you wanted to go the hip hop route,
Right.
they could make some shit for him because they had that whole scary beats era that we loved. You know what I'm saying? So I think those are my guys. Anybody from kind of that trap pocket, but I'll highlight Juicy just because he's the OG. So I'll say Juicy for the scary guys, Mustard for your kind of younger, flashy, kind of fly type people.
Hmm.
Just Blaze for the people who need that grandiose type of entrance. And then Timberland, purely just based off diversity. He could be like a Jim Johnston or somebody like that. He can make a theme for anybody and it will work.
Yeah, I think that's a good list, bro.
Yeah, man.
I like
Well,
that
y'all
list.
in the audience, let us know, man. What producers, what bands, what musicians do y'all think can make some dope wrestling themes? You know what I'm saying? Um, but yeah, man. So we just had Money in the Bank.
Yes,
Just
sir.
finished up. So what are your initial thoughts immediately after watching the show?
I thought it was a cool show. You know, um, I thought I didn't think anything happened that was like too shocking or anything. Like there was a few surprising moments that we'll get to, like especially towards the end of the show. I feel like that's when we started getting a few more surprises and stuff like that. But I thought the show was alright. It was pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah, it was cool. It was
Yeah,
cool.
well,
What
it
was
wasn't
your
mind-blowingly amazing, but it wasn't bad either.
right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's
That's
somewhere
how I
just right
feel.
in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, not terrible, not great. Some surprises though, so that was cool. What was your match of the night before we get into the breakdown?
Probably Lyra and Becky.
Yeah, that's what I had too.
Yeah,
I think, yeah.
probably. And
Yeah. I don't even
then
really think there's too much of a question about it, to be honest.
yeah, because both ladder matches were kind of a whatever, but I think the women's match was a little better, but not really by too much either.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I was more pleased with the winner of the women's match than I was for the men's.
I agree.
Yeah,
But I do think there's probably storyline reasons for that. So I'm willing to, you know, look to the side just for that. Cause I'm sure they, cause with the Seth story that they're building and, with, the Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed joining them. Obviously, they're trying to, really make them a credible threat.
Right.
So I do get it. Plus, there's probably a setup for Braun, I would imagine, to beef with Seth over the title that he's probably gonna take from Jey Uso. I would imagine. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like probably after, maybe soon. Like maybe after he beats Gunther. You know what I mean? Or maybe after Gunther beats him. Maybe Seth cashes in. Like it might be a quick. It might be a quick thing.
Yeah. I'm thinking the same.
Yeah. Yeah. This might be quick. Um. So let's get into it then. Let's. What was your thoughts on the women's Money in the Bank match overall? I know you just kind of touched on it, but
Yeah. Like I said earlier, this one I think was a little bit better than the men's. I think there were just spots in this match that I was kind of looking out for a little bit more that actually happened.
okay.
Like there was a few moments of Rhea mixing it up with people like Julia, like and whatnot, like little mix-ups that I really wanted to see. Like Roxanne and Julia working together for a while, and then ultimately for Roxy to stab her in the back at the end. So I thought that that was an interesting little play.
Hmm.
I thought Alexa Bliss and Rhea's interactions were also very interesting because
Yes.
it seemed like they were like almost helping each other at certain points, but you could tell that they were just doing that so that they could try to fight, which I thought was interesting because I don't really remember Alexa and Rhea mixing it up too much in the past, so I thought that was interesting. Um, I thought Naomi looked great throughout the whole match. I was I wasn't shocked that she won because I kind of just had it in my mind that storyline wise that made the most sense.
Hmm.
So I definitely was happy when that result was the result. Because I think it could have been too obvious if you put it on Rhea or somebody else like that. Um, but yeah, overall, I thought it was a solid match. Like it wasn't fantastic, but it was solid though, and the right person won. So for me, that's really
Yes.
all that. That's
I
really all that
totally
I
agree
needed.
that the right person won for sure. Um I do like that it was mostly rookie women in the match.
Yeah,
Um well, half and half because you got Naomi, you got Rhea, and then you had Alexa, and
right.
then you had Julia, Stephanie, and Roxanne. So
Yep.
I felt like that was good. I feel like the young ladies all got their spots like to shine and to do something cool. You know what I mean? Like Alexa and Roxanne both doing the what's that move called?
Code red spot.
The code red. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I thought that
Um
was cool too.
when they both did that on the ladders, that was dope. Um Julia, they had her looking good pretty much the whole match, you know what I'm saying? She was kind of whooping on everybody at different points. Um Great seller, you know what I'm saying? So
She was the
Stephanie
one that
looked
was
really good.
touching the briefcase the most. It felt like.
Who, Julia?
Yeah.
Her, Roxanne, she was up there a lot. Really,
Yeah,
all
she
three of
was.
them. Really, the three youngins. Like they were up there getting the quote unquote near falls the most. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, no, I think they made them look really good. I don't really have any complaints about it. Especially for the majority of them. I think this is like their first ladder match in a lot of cases. So,
Yep.
you know, um, yeah, I think the right person definitely won. Shout out Naomi.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, you know what I mean. Definitely, I want to
Because
see
now
what they
this
do
makes
with her.
SmackDown a whole lot more interesting now.
Right, because there's so many people that have issues with her. You know what I mean. Obviously, you got Jade, you got Bianca. Um, Now she's got the briefcase, so I'm sure the other ladies who lost the match are probably going to feel some type of way about her, and possibly like the only one that was like predictable to not win, in my opinion, was Julia because she's already got the story going for the U.S. title with Zelina. So I was
Yeah,
like,
I
okay,
agree.
you're kind of giving that away that she's not going to win because she's already got another plan. So it
Right.
kind of left it open outside of her. But we did predict that Naomi was going to win. I think all of us did, including
Yeah, I'm
Steve.
pretty
I think
sure
he
he
did
did.
too. He said it was either going to be Naomi or Alexa, right?
Yeah.
That was his. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, shout out to them. That was dope.
Yep.
Um, next match was the impromptu match, actually, that was scheduled during the earlier event. Worlds Collide happened earlier today, and it was the Mexican promotion AAA that recently was purchased by WWE, and a mix of WWE and NXT people, and it was called Worlds Collide, and it was, I guess it was marketed as a co-show, even though again AAA is owned by WWE, so it's really just a WWE show. But
Right.
um during that show, there was a 6-man tag, and one of the gentlemen in the match, his name was Octagon Jr., and he gave Rey Mysterio a special mask, like, just to like show honor and respect. Um, then he won his match. After the match, Dominic Mysterio gets on the mic, starts talking shit about Ray. Obviously, Octagon not finna have that. So he
Nope.
gets in Dom's face. They start scrapping. Dom just gets overzealous and challenges this nigga to a match and says, and I'll put my title on the line. So he volunteers a title shot just purely out of anger, I guess, because he got a point to prove. But we get into their match, and I think it was a good match. You know what I mean? It was kind of short, um, but it was very. They did a lot with a little. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like they only had a little bit of time, but they both got their shit off, and they told the story that they were trying to tell, which is Dom doesn't like all these luchadors. He thinks he's the best luchador,
Yep.
and he's a cocky little shit who still doesn't respect his dad. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yep.
job well done.
Yeah, I agree. Nothing too much to add. I like that. He was mixing it up with some of the other AAA people that were at ringside, so he was talking shit to Vikingo and whatnot. So that was funny. Yeah, I just thought that this was a nice little impromptu thing that we didn't know we were getting until this afternoon. So yeah, I was cool with it. And this gives Dom another W under his belt, which is never a bad thing.
And I think you can kind of tell two different stories at the same time with this, because you have the one story that they were kind of telling on commentary of Dom, ever since he won the IC title, has sort of separated himself from the rest of Judgment Day. So
Yeah.
you can continue down that path. Um, and then the other story could be Dom is trying to prove that he's the best luchador. They have AAA now. So
Yep.
it's not like Worlds Collide was the only time that we're going to see collaboration. So you can see Dom fighting all types of luchadors defending the Intercontinental Championship in Mexico. It
Right.
is the Intercontinental Championship. It's supposed to represent both North and South America. Mexico is North America. So, you know, it all makes sense. Like if they want to make it make sense.
Yep.
Like there's a
I
few
agree.
different things you could do here with Dom for sure. And it's getting him even more over still. Like he was
Yep.
getting a lot of cheers in the building.
Yeah, for sure.
So shout out Dom. So next, the other Intercontinental Championship, it was Lyra versus Becky. And Becky Lynch got her hand raised by her opponent at the end of the match. I think we both said it already, but yeah, this was definitely my match of the night. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. This they just told a really, really good story throughout this match. You could tell that, Becky was getting frustrated at times because there were a few times where it was like she should have won. Well, like after hitting the manhandle slam off the top rope. Like that was one of the moments where it was like, oh, I can't believe she didn't get the dub there. So you could tell that they were like building up the frustration for the eventual moment when she cheated. Because you were right. I did think you were right about how that was going to play out. That she was probably going to cheat somehow or do something nefarious to pull out the
Yeah.
win. But yeah, I just thought that this was one of those things where it was like the story's right there, so just go ahead and tell it.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of gave it away with the whole "I'll never challenge you again for the title if I don't win."
Right.
So I knew right then, okay, Becky's winning. But
Yeah.
like you said, it was more so going to be about the how and how do you get over a heel character? You have them cheat.
Yep.
that's that's how you do it. You have them cheat, and you have them cheat against somebody that the people like. That's it.
Yep. That's
It's
it.
really that easy. You know what I mean? So people like Lyra. So it's easy to create a heel against Lyra. You know what I mean? Because the people naturally like her. She's not cringe. She doesn't say goofy shit on the microphone or whatever. She's just a likable character. So it's like, it's easy to cheer for her. So, but the people like Becky too. So you have to do certain things in order to turn the crowd on Becky. So that was a
Yep.
perfect way to do it. Have her cheat to win. You know, have her be super arrogant and cocky about it afterwards, which, you know, the whole thing was you got to raise my hand if I win. So obviously y'all see in this picture, Becky's hand is raised. Lyra fulfilled her obligation, even went a step further. Becky said, nah, raising my hand's not enough. I need you to show me in all four sides of the ring with my hand raised. Lyra obliges, holds her hand up, shows her off to all four sides of the ring. Then
Yep.
Becky takes it a step too far and says, I need you to put this belt around my waist. Lyra says, Becky, don't make me do all that. Becky starts yelling at her. Lyra says, all right, puts the belt around her waist and then hits her with a German and then the nightcap, whatever the name of her move.
Nightwing, I believe.
Nightwing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so she walked out looking strong. Becky was on her back, writhing in pain. So Lyra, you know, they did that well. Um,
Yep. That tells me this feud ain't over.
no, I don't think the feud's over. Um, I think maybe they should cool it off for a little bit and then come back later.
Yeah.
Um, let Becky get some defenses with some other people. You know, let Lyra work her way back up or whatever, feud with some other people, or just that can be her goal. She's still chasing Becky the whole time, but you know, you can stretch that out a little bit longer without them having to have matches
Right.
constantly. But I definitely think this was a great match. A lot of action. It was fast paced the whole time. They never really slowed down until the end.
Yep.
Um, you know, it wasn't one of those, all right, we're gonna do a headlock and we're gonna start off posturing and all of that type of shit. Becky got right to it during the
No, yeah, they were
announcements.
scrapping.
Yeah. She got right to it immediately. Like during the announcement, she had just got done. They were getting ready to introduce Lyra, and she turned around and started going off, and it just never stopped from there.
Yeah.
So action packed. I'm fucking with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Next we have the men's Money in the Bank, won by the revolutionary, the visionary, the architect, the Monday Night Messiah, Tyler Black, Seth Rollins.
Yep.
So what were your thoughts on this one?
You know, I think I wasn't really too surprised by the winner here when it was Seth because I kind of had predicted a while ago based on the story that they're telling with, like you said, with Seth's new group that he was probably going to be the one to pick up the win here.
Yeah.
But I think the things that surprised me the most during this match, I think the number one is how over Penta was in the building. He was super over in the building, and there were a
Why'd
few
that surprise
times.
you?
Um,
You got to remember they just had a big ass luchador event earlier in the day. They're in LA.
yeah, I don't know. I don't really know why it surprised me, to be honest, in the moment, because it was just one of those things where I was just like, wow, like I knew LA Knight was going to be super over, and I knew Seth, by virtue of him being him, was going to be. So I guess it just threw me off guard a little bit when Penta was like about to win a few times and how much the crowd was willing him into doing it. So
Yeah,
like,
no,
yeah,
that didn't surprise me.
I wasn't
Like I
even thinking
said,
about those other factors, to be honest. Like,
oh, okay, yeah. I was gonna
yeah,
say, yeah, big AAA show
right,
earlier in the day, former AAA tag team champion. Um, you know, Yeah, no, that made perfect sense to me, for him
Yeah,
to be
no, it
that
was just
over.
one of those things I wasn't thinking about.
No, I get that.
Yeah,
I get that for sure.
yeah, but I was
But
happy about it though. Like that was
yeah,
I was really happy about it. So that was cool. Um, the second thing that surprised me was everything that happened between um Jacob and Solo because
did that surprise you?
only because I felt like I didn't know if they were gonna pull the trigger after that thing that happened on SmackDown when Jacob overheard Solo.
That was the moment I knew they were going to pull the trigger tonight
Yeah,
because Jacob's not going to sit on that. Jacob's not the type, based on the character that we know, to just sit on something like that and pretend to be cool with you when he's not, and all that type of shit.
yeah, that's
So
why I was surprised by when he started helping him. That was like a nice little pump
that was the
fake.
shocking part to me.
Yeah, that
That
was
was the
like a
shocking part to me.
nice little
I
pump fake.
thought initially when they got on the ring apron and Bronson and Braun were staring them both down, for a second, I thought Jacob was just going to super kick JC Mateo right then and feed him to the wolves and then turn around and walk away. That's what I
Yeah,
initially thought was going to happen. Or then maybe go and attack Solo while they were beating JC Mateo's ass. Like, I
right,
thought it was going to be something like that, especially given the fact that the last time we saw Bronson Reed, he was aligned with Jacob and them.
right,
You know what I'm saying? So but again, that was just like for business reasons. Like that doesn't, he's not part of the family or no shit like that.
right,
So, um, but yeah, so the turn happening definitely didn't shock me. The way they did it wasn't necessarily how I called it per se.
yeah,
Um, plus I thought Solo might win, but then I changed my mind after Jacob came out of the hallway when he was talking to Jason Mateo. I was like, oh, okay, nah,
yeah.
Jacob's
That's
not just
gonna
gonna
that's gonna
let
play
that
out
ride.
later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So, who was? Did I have anybody? Oh yeah, no, I thought LA Knight was gonna win. Once Jacob turned on Solo, I immediately was like, oh, I think LA Knight's gonna finally get it this time.
yep,
But then Seth got it.
yep. Because there was that one moment towards the end when he was real close to the case. I was like, oh, maybe you're right. Maybe they are gonna give it to him. But yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, good match overall though. You're always what you're getting out of Money in the Bank. It's gonna be a lot of it's about a lot of high spots,
yep.
a lot of chaos, a lot of ladder bumps. You know what you're getting.
Oh yeah,
And then finally we have Cody Rhodes and Jay Uso versus Logan Paul and John Cena. Um, Obviously, I think the surprise at the end of the match nobody expected.
yeah,
Um, I had a slight feeling, a slight hint when John Cena said last night, when he directly addressed it, and when he said, oh, you can't handle the truth, making not jokes, but playing off of the fact that our truth allegedly just lost his job, which is
right,
serious and most people wouldn't play with. Like even a heel persona, like if that's actually your friend in real life, you wouldn't play with that.
right.
Um, and then he kept saying it, and then he kept saying, "Oh, you want to see our truth instead of our truth." So I was like,
Like
I
they're
don't know if
leaning
our
into it
truth's
heavy.
actually gone. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't know. That's a little suspect. So, needless to say, we have the tag match tonight. Typical, TV style tag match. Your heels cutting off one of the baby faces in their corner, taking turns, quick tags, frustrating the babyface on the outside of the ring, which causes referee distractions, which allows the heels to cheat more. Very basic WWE tag team booking stuff here.
Yep.
Um, at the end, they turn up a little bit. They do
Especially
some table
Logan.
bumps. I want to say Jay did that spear to Cena through the table, or onto the table rather. And then there was a table bump after that. Oh yeah, Logan Paul. He did the
Yep.
Acai moonsault from the outside onto
Jey
Jey
Uso.
Uso, and yeah, broke that table. So that was
Beautiful
dope.
spot.
Um, the Cody Logan stuff at the end with the drone, that was pretty dope. I enjoyed watching that. And then of course, like I said, at the end, looks like Cena and Logan Paul are gonna, wrap things up here. Cena hits his famous belt shot on Cody. But then out of nowhere, a hooded man in a balaclava shows up. And the first thing I notice is his ankle being exposed. I
Yep.
said, that's a dark skinned man. Nigga, that's our truth. And then
Yup.
Eric, you was like, really? You sure? I was like, nigga, that's our truth.
Yup.
And he took that shit off, took his mask off, them dreads started swinging.
Mm-hmm.
Crowd went crazy. Commentary went crazy. Uso and Cody get the dub. 1, 2, 3. They save WWE a little bit longer from the wrath of Hollywood Cena and Logan Paul. So, with the ending to that match, how do we feel about it overall?
I'm just glad our truth's back, man.
I'm happy my
Obviously.
man ain't fired, bro.
Yeah, yeah. We kind of said it during the week that the if we keep hearing this outcry like at every show, then we were both just in the back of our mind like they might have to fuck around and bring him back
Might have to.
because it wasn't going away. Like when
It was getting louder.
they were cheering "We Want Truth" at Worlds Collide today, that's when I knew. Because I'm like, this is like a brand new collaborative show between AAA and WWE and NXT. Like it's
And it's
like
a
a bunch
lucha
of new
show.
shit. Like it's a lucha show. Like when it happened there, I was like, okay, this is getting we're really stretching it out a lot now than I thought it was gonna last until. Because when it kept going off at that show, I was like, okay, we're
Yeah.
getting somewhere.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, for that to just be a straight up lucha libre show and for it to, because it was really obviously like they were focusing on mostly, you know, Mexican American and just straight Mexican talent.
Yeah.
And then they would shine a little bit of light on Hispanic talent overall. They'd mention Puerto Rico a little bit, but it was mostly like a Hispanic Mexican type of deal. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
even most of the wrestlers outside of like Javon Evans and Chad Gable, they were all, Hispanic wrestlers on the
And
show.
Ethan Page too.
Who? Oh yeah, and Ethan Page.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that being said, the fact that our truth is getting all those chants, it was just like, man, I really hope TKO is listening to this. You know what I mean? Like, you got to do something. Like, because obviously, even just from an economic capitalist standpoint, one, he had the highest selling T-shirt of what, the last 2 months or the last month or whatever it was.
Something like
so,
that, yeah.
So obviously, financially, he is beneficial in that regard, and the amount of people who want to tune in to see him. That means he's worth money. He moves ratings. You know what I'm saying? Like, you wouldn't maybe necessarily think that, but this clearly shows that, you know what I mean? The amount of outcry, the amount of support that he got. I love to see it. I love
me
to
too.
see it. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just keep it real, especially in today's climate, you know what I'm saying? With racism being a lot more open and rampant and stuff like that. To see a black man get that, like an authentically, unapologetically black man, get that much love and support from the mainstream wrestling audience was beautiful to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
It felt like progress. Like, okay, maybe we are moving in the right direction, even with all this bullshit going on. And I got to cover something in a minute on politics as usual. So y'all please make sure to check that out as well. But apparently Donald Trump just what did he do? He invoked the Insurrection Act like while we've been recording the stream, apparently. So
Wow.
yeah. So got to do a video on that. So again, politics as usual. Make sure you check me out. It's probably gonna drop tomorrow. Um, because I was covering some other shit actually, but this just broke, and that's more important, you know. So we're gonna cover that. But back to wrestling though. Like I said, it
Yeah.
does feel good to see our truth get that much love from the mainstream audience, you know, during this climate. It just kind of reminds you that everybody doesn't suck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Not like yeah, like you said, man. The fact that he's still received as much love for that long, and that so many people wanted it back, and then it actually happened. Like that was really just dope to see that moment. And now it's going to be even more interesting to see what happens now that he is back.
Yeah. Cause it's like he's in the main event story. He came
Yeah.
back and attacked Cena.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily saying he's a championship contender or anything like that, but he's in the story at this point. Just like how he was in the Judgment Day story, or how he was, you know what I'm saying? Like he
Yeah.
has a way of being involved in really important stories without having to have really important matches within those stories. You see what
Exactly.
I'm saying? Like his character is enough to make the is enough to be involved in the story and make it make sense and make him still feel important without him being like, okay, you're challenging for the WWE title. No, you're not.
Right.
But there's still shit that you can do that's extremely valuable. So
Right.
I'm definitely happy that they saw that. Um, yeah, man. Shout out our truth.
Yeah, for sure, man.
My man Ron Cena, he bike.
Yes, sir.
Hell yeah. But this is the Money in the Bank recap, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Definitely appreciate y'all for tuning in. Again, make sure that you leave some comments. Tell us who your favorite producers, beat makers, bands, instrumentalists, whatever you call it, you know, whoever makes music that you enjoy, that you think can make some fire wrestling themes. Leave our names in the comments. You know, we'll check them out if we're not familiar. You know what I mean? And also, if you want to, you know, give us the extra and tell us who they'd make a good theme for, that would be fire. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, all we need you to do is please like this video, please share this video, please subscribe to the channel. And Eric G, you got any last words for the people before we get up out of here?
Nah, man. Appreciate y'all watching. Y'all follow us on all platforms and have a good rest of the weekend, man.
That's it. Make sure you follow us. All the social medias, they're listed below right there in that lower third for you. S. Slobin, Shane _ ethos, the Eric G Life.